I don't know about you, but the first time I got into gaming, I played the original Need for Speed on my computer. So it is an honor to be talking to Jason DeLong, executive producer for Need for Speed The Run. Dude, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Can I just crack the joke? You've been at E3 all day long. I had to do
all
that.
Day long.
I'm sorry.
Good one.
So let's talk about Need for Speed The Run.
Yeah, happy to.
Out of the box, what's different? You jump out of that car.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the idea behind the run this year is that it's an illicit high-stakes race across the country from San Francisco to New York.
Right on.
So obviously that infers that we have a story, obviously. And the story of our hero Jack is essentially he's forced into this race for his life. If he doesn't make it to New York before anybody else, then it's not going to end up too well for him. So what we wanted to do this year was really tell the story in a new way. At Black Box, the games we've done in the past, Most Wanted, Underground, when we tell a story, because we had this amazing racing engine, you have a great race experience, but then to tell a story, we had to kind of put the controller down and watch a movie. Whereas this year, we've gone to Frostbite 2, and we've actually been able to bring a character into the game for the first time. So for us, getting out of the car is really all in aid of telling the story, and making sure that we have moments where Jack gets out of the car, he's put into peril, like you see here, the mob's after him, they're trying to kill him. He's got to get back in the race as soon as possible. That's kind of the idea, is that, getting out of the car is really only an aid for us to give, the player something to do. It's a little bit different. More importantly, for Jack to change cars, for Jack to get back in the race, because if he doesn't get in the race, he's dead.
That's awesome. Were you guys influenced at all by the Fast and the Furious setup? Because it is about fast cars and always being fast and clearly furious.
Yeah, I mean, Need for Speed's always been about car culture, right? And Fast and Furious has done a great job of emulating that as well. So for us, it's all about just making sure that we're telling an interesting story, but most importantly, it is about the race. We're Need for Speed. We're racing is at our core. So this is what you see here with the out of car stuff is less than 10% of the game, but it's just a way to keep the player immersed. We didn't want people to feel like that white knuckle adrenaline they have when they're racing has to end when we get out of the car by watching a movie. They want to get back in the car right away. Now we find Jack, pushed to extreme measures. He's basically knocked out a cop so he can steal his cop car, get back, get out of Chicago as fast as he can, and then get back into the race.
Is that an LCD screen in the interior there?
Yeah, well, it's a cop car. They got their laptops in there.
That's awesome. I like that attention to detail. You guys always rock when it comes to that.
Thanks, man.
So talk about the development. You guys have been making races for quite a while. So when you guys said, hey, your very first meeting for the run, we're going to get you out of the car, how these guys have been working on racing games for a while. How does that work for them? Like, okay, was it challenging for them to kind of make that transition?
Yeah, well, for us, it was all about the story, and that's really what it came down to. So we Black Box hasn't made a Need for Speed for about 3 years because we've had the time to step back and really, focus on the concept, focus on our technology, go to Frostbite, and in doing so, we said, what can Frostbite offer us? What can we do? And obviously, world-class visuals is one of them. This game looks amazing on PS3, but for us, it was about just making sure that we were telling the story that we wanted to tell it, and be able to have this incredible character performance. We went down to Hollywood and we did performance capture like you find in James Cameron's Avatar.
Awesome.
To get just the most believable.
James Cameron.
Yeah, exactly. Get the most believable character performances we can. Really make the player feel immersed in the story all the way through.
We're on. Hey, Jad, I hope you mind. We're going to grab some questions off our PlayStation account.
Yeah, great.
Off our Twitter. So, Sid Schumann, Mr. Twitter.
The Twitterverse demands answers.
We'll do what we
First
can.
and foremost, Picasso Picard wants to know, at first glance, the running bit looks like it's QuickTime events. Are there any sections where you'll have some more freedom?
Yeah, we actually, what we're showing obviously here at E3 is how we're innovating out of the car. But for us, it's like, the out of the car is more than just the QuickTime events. There's lots of different things you're going to see as we unveil things over time. There is going to be some freedom. You're actually going to see at the end of this as well. We have like a gestural control system that we implemented for a sequence at the end of the game, at the end of the demo, which is definitely not a QuickTime event. It's more about a puzzle-solving kind of real control feeling. So, for us, as I said before, the idea with behind the QuickTime events was to get the player. Keep the player engaged in the action and get them back in. Like right now, Jack's in Chicago, the mob's on his tail, he's got to get back in the race. If he doesn't make it to New York first, he's dead. We didn't want to give him the freedom to walk around and do some window shopping and buy a donut. We want him to make sure that he's getting back in the race as quickly as possible. That's always his motivation.
Can I make a personal request, Gino? Can you go into first-person mode? This is the way I like to game. I just want things flying at me.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, 3D is a huge thing, and Motorstorm Apocalypse did fantastic things in 3D.
Yep.
Maybe down the line, can we expect something in 3D?
We're not talking about our 3D plans yet, but, I agree with you. It's amazing technology, and I think it brings a lot to gaming that it hasn't done in the past.
I know there's some exclusives for just the PlayStation 3 build. Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Need for Speed, obviously, it's all about exotic cars, supercars, and we're really happy to have partnered with Sony and offer an exclusive supercar pack. So you're going to see 7 supercars that aren't available any other way except for on the PlayStation 3. You've got the Bugatti Veyron Supersport, you got the Gumpert Apollo Sports, the Porsche Carrera GT, to name a few, and those will be available all exclusively on Sony.
Cool, now I gotta ask, is it an open world game where you just jump out of the car, or is it just, are you going from point A to point B for the story?
Well, for us, we wanted to really make sure we emulated this epic race across the country and made that, made sure that the player really felt that. And it's not just about the cities that you visit on the way, it's not just the urban centers like San Francisco and Chicago, it's all about, the terrain in between. So you're gonna go through open deserts, you're gonna go over high mountain passes, you're gonna go through farmlands. We've actually got over 300 kilometers of track in the game this year, which is 3 times more you've seen in any previous Need for Speed game. So it's not open world in the sense that you can go anywhere you want and do anything you want to do. It's really about, that epic race from coast to coast.
So where are we now in the demo?
Say again?
Where are we now in this demo?
So right now what's happened is Jack has been run off the road essentially by the mob. He is upside down in the car, and as you saw, he kind of was waking up from being knocked out there. That's where you see some of the gestural controls where the player's using the left stick to look around, figure out the puzzle, and see what he had to do. Had to get his seatbelt undone. Now, unfortunately, the trains ended up, or the cars ended up upside down on the train track. So now Jack's got to figure it out. Maybe he punches out a window. That doesn't seem like the right thing to do. Maybe he can kick a window out. And we're starting to see some glass cracking. Maybe that's the way to go. So Jack's going to try and fight his way out of the car before the train comes and takes out the vehicle, and hopefully lives to race another day.
Is that the end right there?
That's the end.
Right on, let's end it big. Let's actually grab another question from Twitter.
Actually, it's more for me. But no, just watching that last sequence, I mean, it kind of reminded me of Heavy Rain. Was that an influence on you guys?
I think it's definitely, Heavy Rain was a great game. It gave us a lot of inspiration for some of the stuff we want to do. But I think, the runs is much bigger than just that. I mean, we pulled inspiration from hundreds of the different places. But Heavy Rain, obviously, a great game and a great influencer for us.
Yeah, but it wasn't just like, all right, just hit X. It was, all right, I'm upside down in this car.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to do, is really make the player feel like they had to figure it out. It's not a quick time event where you just hammer on a button. It's actually, you got to look around, you got to figure out what he's got to do, and try and fail and succeed, basically.
Color me interested.
Thank you very much.
Rock and roll. Jason, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for having us.